everybody, we're going to solve this rational inequality. What we're looking for is where, if this is our f of x, where is our f of x negative? So that means where does it fall below the graph where y is negative? That's the same. So what we do is we look at key critical points on the graph. And I'm going to look at my x-intercept, and that's by setting my numerator to 0. If I set my numerator to 0, that means x equals 0. So I have a root there, or an x-intercept there. And also set my denominator to 0. So I'm going to set the 3x minus 1 to 0. We really don't want it to equal 0 because that's going to generate our vertical asymptotes. And I'm going to set my 5x plus 4, and I don't want it to be 0. So I'll go ahead and take away these parentheses. So if you just solve for x, you get, for this one, you get x equals 1/3. That means x can't be 1/3. And this one is x cannot be negative 4/5. So our critical values we're going to use are 0, negative 1/4, and 1/3 to see what's going on with the graph. So what we do is we kind of do this little table here, and I have my zeros. I have these numbers. I have 0, 1/3, and negative 1/4. Negative 4/5. And when I put this in ascending order, so I want to see what's going on with the graph between negative infinity and negative 4/5, because that's my smallest number. And then I'm going to go from negative 4/5 to 0 on the interval, because that was my next number. If I'm labeling these, going negative 4/5, 0, 1/3. And we want to see what's going on in the graph between these points. And then I'm going to go from 0 to 1/3. And then I'm going to go from 1/3 to infinity, see what happens after 1/3. Now, I'm going to choose a number between here, and you want to choose as easy as you can get. So I'm going to choose like negative 1 here. On this one, I'll go ahead and choose negative 1/2, because this is very close to negative 1. Here I have to choose 1/4, or you can choose 1/5, anything. And then from 1/3 to infinity, I'll just choose 1. Now, if you plug in these numbers, you get a certain value. By the way, this is an x. So what I'm going to do is plug in negative 1 into this equation here and see what happens. When I plug negative 1 in the numerator, I'm going to get a positive, because the negative 1 times negative 11 is positive. Now, when I plug negative 1 in the denominator, I'm going to get negative and a negative. So this is going to be negative times negative. So this is going to be positive over positive. So I don't have to get the exact value, but I can just see what if it's positive or negative. So positive over a positive is positive. Now when I plug in negative 1/2 in the numerator, two negatives again make a positive. When I plug in negative 1/2 in the denominator, I'm going to get a negative for the first binomial. And the second binomial, I'm going to get a positive. So this is going to equal a positive over a negative. And a positive divided by negative is negative. Now for the 1/4, I'm going to get, in the numerator, I'm going to get a negative. In the denominator, I'm going to get a positive. Let's see, 1/4, 3/4 minus, no, that's going to be negative. And I plug in 1/4. So this one is going to be positive. So you're going to get a negative divided by a negative, and that equals positive. Now, luckily, we have 1 here, so 1, you plug in 1. The numerator, you're going to get a negative number. You plug in 1 in the denominator, you're going to get 2 positives. So that's a negative over a positive. That equals a negative. So what we want is where this whole value is negative. And our solution set would then be these two. This one and this one. So you can write this as x is going to be in between negative 4/5 and 0. And also x is greater than 1/3. Or you could just write it like this. You could write my solution set is negative 4/5, comma 0, union, which is or, 1/3, comma, infinity. Now let me show you what this means. This means, and I kind of graphed this, this means what I'm looking for, I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. I'm looking for the values where it falls below the graph. So what I'm looking at is right here. It falls below the graph here between negative 1/3, negative 4/5, sorry, and 0. And then it also falls below the y equals 0 here. And that's the solution set you found. Where does it fall? Where is y negative, basically, is what you're finding. Okay? That's all. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.